The rain had been coming down since noon, and so had I. No case on the books, nothing on the desk but a bottle 2 fingers lighter than it ought to be, and a window that gave me the whole gray harbor for free. A city that's already buried. Everything you ever dug up doesn't send much work your way. It just lets you sit in it.
Well, you're a vision. Tie loose, eyes closed, dead to the world before the streetlights are on. I told the rain you were deep in a case. The rain didn't believe me either.
I was resting my judgment, Dale. It's the only part of me that still works. What have we got? Somebody lose a dog? Somebody lose a husband?
A woman came up the stairs without an umbrella, which means she didn't plan on the weather, which means she didn't plan on coming at all until about an hour ago. Wouldn't sit, wouldn't give me a thing. Just handed me her card and asked, "Was this still your office?" And then I read the name. I've seen that name before, in your handwriting, in a file you told me to close and never open. So I'm not ribbing you now. She won't put it on paper, whatever she's carrying. She wants to say it out loud, to you. And she's standing in the hall while she decides whether she's brave enough to.
She slid the card across the blotter, slow, the way you set down something you'd rather not be holding. I read the name and the bottle stopped looking like an answer. It belonged to the worst thing I ever put in the ground for this city. A thing I'd been told in civic ink and a handshake photograph was finished being dug up. The card said it wasn't, and the woman who owned it was 12 feet away, in the hall, in the rain, waiting on whether I was still the kind of man who opened the door. She came in the way they all come in, out of the rain and into the lamplight, and she took the chair across the desk like she'd rehearsed it. The torch singers always sit like the room is theirs, but her hands were wrong. Her hands were a woman who'd stopped sleeping a while back and never picked the habit up again.
I almost didn't knock. I've walked past that door 4 nights running. You're the only man in the city who already knows what I'd have to explain. So I figured I'd save us both the speech.
Most people pay extra for the speech. Sit. Tell me what's got a woman who sings for a living too scared to use her own voice.
There's a man. Small. The kind you'd step over on the street. He came to my dressing room with an envelope and a smile. And he's been coming back ever since. Every week. He takes a little. Never too much, never enough to make me run. He's very careful about that.
Careful's the word for it. A greedy man you can scare off. A careful one's the one who's read the whole thing through to the end. What's he selling you back?
My silence. He sells me my own silence, a week at a time. And before you ask me what it's worth, you already know. You're the only one alive who watched it burn.
Then she opened her bag and laid a photograph on my blotter, face up, square in the lamplight. I knew it before my eyes did. A dead girl, 20 years gone, and a man's face beside her that wears an office now and shakes hands with the mayor in the morning paper. I watched that picture turn to ash, held the match myself. There isn't supposed to be a copy.
There's always a copy, Detective. That's the first thing a careful man learns. I don't want it printed. I don't want justice. I want the bleeding to stop. That's all I've got left to want.
Some things you bury and they stay buried, and some come back wet and smiling with their hand out, selling you a thing you already paid for once. The case that ran my life was over. The city told me so in civic ink, and here it was on my desk again, face up in the lamplight, the thing that didn't burn. The Chronicle newsroom never slept, and neither did Flynn. 2 in the morning, and the place still smelled of cigarettes and hot lead, typewriters going like rain on a tin roof. I'd done him favors over the years. Tonight I came to collect, and I brought him a thread to follow. A torch singer being squeezed for everything she had.
You're calling in markers at 2 in the morning, so it's real. I ran the singer's money like you asked, followed it 3 jumps, and I'll tell you right now where it stops being a story.
Let me guess, it stops at a door with a title on it.
It stops dead. You can't print a public servant who did nothing wrong on paper, Flynn. There's no story. There's no headline. That route is closed and it's staying closed. I told you that, and I meant it.
I didn't come for a headline. I came for a name. Who's holding the envelope?
Bagman's a little nobody named Eddie Cuff. Picks up from the singer, walks it 2 blocks, hands it off. But here's the part that kept me up. The take doesn't buy Eddie a thing. It feeds an audit. Books that run straight out of the new office. She's not paying a grifter, Flynn. She's bankrolling the man behind the desk.
Eddie Cuff. A name so small you could lose it in your pocket. But Flynn had just told me the small man was answering to something a lot bigger than himself. The squeeze money wasn't making anybody rich. It was feeding a ledger behind a civic door. The singer thought she was being robbed. She was being conscripted. And somewhere 2 blocks from her dressing room, a little nobody was carrying the whole rotten city in an envelope and didn't know it. The back room of the Blue Room smelled of cigars and old money and the particular quiet a man pays for. Marchetti sat where he always sat, with his back to the wall and his hands folded like a priest who'd heard every confession twice. I'd spent 12 cases not coming here. Tonight I walked in on my own 2 feet, which is the only way the door ever really closes behind you.
Look who finds the time. Sit, sit. You want a drink? Course you do. A man comes all this way, he don't come to admire the wallpaper. So, you got a name in your mouth and you can't swallow it. Say it.
There's a bagman working the docks, squeezing a woman over an old photograph. He's running it off your peers, Pauly, and he never asked you.
On my docks, without a word, without a nod. See? That's disrespectful. A thing like that, you don't ask me for a favor. You're doing me one, just by saying it out loud. I'm a reasonable man. A weed grows where I don't plant it, I pull it. You don't owe me a dime for that. That's just keeping the yard clean.
Then we understand each other. He's gone by the weekend and nothing comes back on the woman.
He's gone. The lady sleeps fine. But understand something, friend. 12 cases. You never spent a thing. Not a marker, not a favor, not a hello. You held your cards like they was your own children. And tonight you walk into my room and you burn the last one. For who? One scared dame with a picture. I didn't charge you a nickel. I didn't have to. I just watched. Now I know what makes you open the wallet. That's worth more than money, and you already paid it.
He smiled like a man who'd just been handed something he could never have bought. I'd come to spend 1 quiet card and walk out clean. Instead, I'd shown the most patient man in Calloway Bay the one thing I'd kept off the table for 12 cases, what I'd ruined myself for, and how cheap the asking price really was. The blackmailer was finished. Marchetti now had me priced to the penny, filed away with everything else he never forgets. The rain had eased to a drizzle by the time it was done, the kind that doesn't fall so much as hang in the air and wait. She came out of the doorway with her collar up and her shoulders down, and for the first time since she'd walked into my office, she wasn't looking over them. A free woman. I'd made her one. It should have felt like more than it did.
It's over, isn't it? I keep waiting to feel it, but I just feel light. Like I set down a bag I'd been carrying so long I forgot it was heavy. He's really gone. The photographs, the letters, all of it.
It's gone. Every copy. You can stop checking the street behind you and nobody's there anymore.
You don't look like a man who just won. I know that look. You wear it like the rest of them. Tell me what it cost you. I'd rather know than spend the rest of my life owing you something I can't see.
I could have told her that the blackmailer's copy was the last unsealed road to a girl 20 years in the ground, and it went into the harbor with everything else. That to burn the thing squeezing her, I'd had to hand Marchetti the 1 chip I'd been saving for myself, and he'd taken it the way he takes everything, smiling, like I'd done him a courtesy. But you don't hang a thing like that on a woman who just learned how to breathe. It cost what these things cost. Go home, sleep with the light off. That's the only thank you I want.
You're a strange kind of decent. You know that? The city doesn't deserve you. It never did.
She went off down the wet street and didn't look back, and that was the win. A woman walking away from her own shadow for good. I'd spent 12 cases reaching for the man behind the desk, and tonight I'd finally moved a piece, and the piece I moved was mine. He never felt the wind. I'd traded the last road to an old grave for one quiet life, closed it for a person instead of a case, exactly the way this city always wanted me to. Somewhere across town, Marchetti was already forgetting he'd done me a favor, and I'd remember the debt every morning for the rest of my life. The girl in the harbor stayed buried. The woman in the rain got to live, and I walked home in the dark, square with no one, owing a man I'd never beat a price with no number on it.